Hello, everyone. It's Renee Baribeau, the practical shaman, and welcome to the Shaman's Cave.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sandra Ingerman, and welcome to the Shaman's Cave. And so today we have a very interesting topic to talk about. And I just need to admit it's not original. I actually read about it in an article today, but I thought it was really fascinating what I read about. And I thought it would be a very interesting show, and Renee agreed on that. And so, as you know, there's a lot of people, and this has been going on for years and years. It's not a new practice, but a lot of really old practices are coming back to life again today as people are struggling to how to bring beauty and grace back into their life again. And so, one of the practices that has really just been staying over time is what are you in gratitude for? And so, forever now, we've been hearing about gratitude bowls, gratitude jars, writing down every day what you have gratitude for and putting it in a jar. And so today, now it's big again. The gratitude jar apparently has come back, more in the mainstream, where before it was more, in the spiritual community. So I read an article today, that a woman wrote of instead of just putting what you're grateful to in a jar, why don't you track back how you even got grateful for this? And so I started to think about this. I know what I just said sounds very confusing, so I'll give you a grounded example. So I started to think about what she wrote about, and I started to think about my connection with Renee and the Shaman's Cave. And Renee and I are celebrating. We've completed 250 shows, which is unbelievable. It seems like yesterday that we started together. And so I started to think about how did that connection start? And one day, years ago, I received a message on Messenger from Renee. I have no idea who Renee Baribeau is. Zero. I've never heard of her. I received a message from her, and she said that she's working with my book agent and she's writing a book on the wind. And would I be willing to read it for a possible endorsement? And I said, "Yeah, sure, I'd be willing to read it." And I read, The Winds of Spirit, and I thought it was the best book I ever read in my whole entire life. And so it was like, I wanna know this woman more. I wanna get to know this woman who wrote this book. And so I said to Renee, would you be ever interested in doing something with me publicly? Because it's rare that I meet another person who I feel holds that kind of wisdom. And so as I thought about, oh, I'm really grateful and I'm celebrating 250 shows on the Shaman's Cave with Renee. But when I thought back and tracked back about that first messenger message, and then how our relationship started to develop out of that message, and how that relationship turned into the Shaman's Cave years ago, it brought such a different depth to gratitude instead of just throwing a piece of paper in a jar at night saying I'm grateful for my connection to Renee and the Shaman's Cave. Being able to actually track back all the events, everything that had to come into play to make the Shaman's Cave actually manifest in the world, to actually track back all the people who helped to make that happen, everything that Renee and I did, the conversations we had together, it brought such a depth into, wow, this we really, have a history that created this show, that created the gratitude. So, what we're talking about in today's show is looking back at the history, at the people and the events that all came into your life and all that came into play so that something did manifest in your life that you're grateful for.
Mm, well, that's a wrap.
Yeah.
Uh, and I did all that, and as soon as she said that, she said, "Well, there might be hard to come up with examples about that," and I'm there like, "Well, I just had the same kind of a example on the Cotswolds where one day I decided not to walk, and I decided to go to the spa." And I love spas. I love to travel spas all over. And one of the women in the group was having some kind of a knee issue or something. And so I invited her to come along. And it turns out I said to her, "Well, how did Nancy find me to bring me to Cincinnati and that you're both here?" She said, "Well, I found you and I introduced you to Nancy." And I think she said she found us through the shaman's cave. And so sometimes this spiral of our gratitude or things that we believe that we can, get these constructs of how things came about are not really even how those strands came in. And so I love this idea of tracing back to, okay, so she found us on a show on loss and heartbreak or whatever it was, then she might have gotten your book and my book and then remembered me for this other conference they were having. And then all of a sudden everybody's in the UK and now the circle's expanded and we're gonna have an art class together. And that's how it works when you stay open to that it's not a linear thing, but that there's strands coming. And it reminds me that in gratitude, one of the we need to always look, or I need to always look at the unseen power the unseen forces that are always at play.
Mhm.
Like, it probably took me a lot of courage to send you that message out of the blue. And yet, the Isis or, the wind god was probably laughing. Oh, yeah, we had you two meeting a long time before this, but you never got into that same spiral.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that really it reminds me of how I got into, shamanism, shamanic journeying. I got into shamanism as a kid through initiations, but formally, I got into shamanism actually, I am getting ready to celebrate my anniversary of, my first shamanic workshop of, October 31st, Halloween, 1980 was when I took my first workshop on shamanism. And when I trace that back, I always say to people, it's like the universe picked me up and put me into this class because I certainly was not signing up for a workshop on shamanism. And so when you look at my life back then, I was making a decision about number one, should I go for my master's in marine biology? That's where my energy was going at that time because I really wanted to look at how to reverse river pollution. That was my interest in studying marine biology. I know rivers are not part of marine biology, but any water is part of marine biology. And so that was my reason for wanting to do that. And I put in my application to a school for my master's, and they accepted me. But then I was at I was given the opportunity, somebody came into work, I was working at San Francisco State, and said, there's this alternative school that I think you would really love." And so I decided to go check out that alternative school before agreeing to get my master's in, biology. And, I went, and it looked like, "My god, this is gonna bring me so much joy if I go to the school." It was gonna be getting my master's in counseling psychology instead of marine biology, which big switch. But my heart was really open. So then I said, "I can't possibly afford this school. There's absolutely no way I could afford this school." And so, number 1, I applied for a student loan, but the school gave me a work study job. But I'm getting ready to start my job, and somebody runs into the office and says, "But you're not enrolled yet, so you can't have a work study job." So I was enrolled and employed in less than 5 minutes. And then from that job, um, I found out that somebody was coming from Connecticut to teach a weekend workshop and I could get 2 easy units. I wouldn't have found out about that if I wasn't doing work study. I just happened to be in somebody's office and heard this conversation. So all these things the universe had to put into play to
Mhm.
get me to this workshop on October 31st. It wasn't just, "Oh, I heard about this workshop." It was a million things that came into play for years that moved me to a place of even having the opportunity to take this workshop. So it's amazing how much work your own spirit, your inner spirit, the universe colludes together on to move you into the path that your soul is actually calling you to do.
Absolutely. I so agree with that. And my new home is one of those things.
Mhm.
A year before I came here, I was on this shamanic journey and I saw this landscape that was really out of fuzzy, a little bit whacked. And I'm there like, well, this isn't where I'm living now. And I'm there like, did the land lose its power? And and then I came this summer. I was very happy in my new house. I'm thinking like, all right, I'm getting retired from my job and look at I got this low income house that I built and low mortgage. And these people came to the island and asked me to look for them for a place to live. And so I was driving by this open house. I stepped into this house. I came into the living room and there was the view I saw a year ago. And I didn't recognize it at first. It took me a minute because I thought I was looking at a house for somebody else. And I'm there, this is like makes absolutely no sense for me. I'm have this low house that I've just worked my life to afford. And here's this house with this view and this mountain that's holding me. Let's just get real. It's the mountain out the window, down the harbor. And so what long story short is that 12 years ago, I was sitting with one of my spiritual advisors and I said, "Yeah, I want to have a house on Whidbey." And I did all of the things, the indicated next steps to get to this house. And how I knew it was really full circle was that the people that I was showing, this is a little convoluted, the people I was showing the house to, that I thought I was looking at this house, they said, "No, I'm not interested." She calls me up, said, "Oh, we found a house." And I'm there like, "Oh, really?" And of course, I ran over there to see it. And sure enough, if it wasn't the house of the man that I had met 12 years before, who then introduced me around in a roundabout way, because I didn't have any place to live here. And it came back full circle. And it took 12 years of hard work and following the next indicated step. Then we look for those signs. Oh, well, that's really interesting. You bought the house next door to the guy that I first met when I was first looking for a house here on the island 12 years later. So when we unravel the spiral, we're always heading somewhere and hopefully it's always with a lot of joy.
Yeah, I just found, what this woman put out in this article today. I felt like it adds such a richness to, appreciating our lives at this point. No matter what you're going through, whether you're going through struggles or anything, you've had good things happen to you in your life. And so, to actually look at the chain of events
Mhm.
that had to happen for some of us that was years before something actually happened, and all the people who were accidentally put on our path. I mean, I've had life-changing things happen because I was on a really long bank line, and I happened to, at a boredom, have a conversation with a person behind me, and from that conversation with that person behind me, some kinda opportunity came up for me or came up for that other person, because we both had resources for each other. "Oh, you're dealing with this in your life. Oh, I know how to do this. Oh, I know how to help you." And so if you look back at all the chain of events that happened to bring you to a particular place in life, it number 1, it brings you to a sense of appreciation more of what you did manifest in your life because of how much preparation that you weren't even aware of went into what you're now doing. And it also brings you back to understanding that there's a magic to life that's beyond our ego's understanding, and that there are always forces, whether it's our own soul or an inner spirit that's combining with the spiritual forces of the planet to actually bring us to a particular part of our path, a different place on our path. And when we realized how big the universe is that actually helped us create this path for ourselves, it's humbling. It's like, no, you're not just this little human out there doing this walk alone. There's this unbelievable, huge force, divine force that is working in your behalf with you to bring you to a particular place in life, whether it's lessons around life, whether it's lessons around loss, whether it's lessons around grief, whether it's lessons around abundance, whether it's lessons around joy. There's so much that is going on around you that is in the unseen that has brought you to the place that you're at now. And if you're willing to do some backtracking, and if you're willing to do some journeying or meditation or taking a walk in nature and just sit and think about some of the most important parts of your life that you're grateful for and how did you get there? It I don't know, for me, it just brings more depth. It's not, "Oh, I created this. We did this." It
Mhm.
was everything that went into making this happen brings me to a different place of gratitude that is magnified so exponentially by just looking at the, event or the person who manifested in your life.
Mhm. It's so important. What you're reminding me of though, as well is for me to think about what was not gratitude, what was painful, what was the thing that had me on my knees enough to say, "I surrender. There's gotta be something better than this," which I think is some of the things that took led me to my first shamanic weekend. It was like, I don't even know if I think back about it. I think it was at Omega Institute, and it was what was available that weekend that worked along with my schedule when I was so desperate for something different that I didn't even know that it was gonna lead me down a journey that was gonna be way more fulfilling and required work. I mean, I've said this before, and for a year or 2 years, every single morning when I was unhappy, I got up and filled out legal size documents of, "I am whole and complete exactly as I am. I am grateful." I had to change the ch I had to change the channel of my brain in order to even realize how miserable I was in order to make that change so that I could. I mean, because now I live in a place where even when something that I probably wouldn't want to happen happens, I can find the gift.
Right. Yeah, I think that's such an important point, Renee. I think it's such a crucial point for everybody to absorb and to work with right now is what are the changes that we need to make in our brain that would even open us up to good things coming into our lives right now. Because if everything's mind, which I do believe everything is mind, um, then if everything is just in your mind, then we have to make changes in our brain in order to resculpt and create something different. And then when you make those changes in your brain, as you said, that's when the universe can come in and collude with you in the most positive way possible to bring you to a place that may be surprising, may be different than what you were looking for, or the shamanic workshop you were looking for.
I laughed because I thought you said everything is mine.
Oh, yeah. Mind.
Mine, it's mine. But I think both Sandra and I hit on this important part that it's when we remember that we're part of something that's bigger and greater, then we can have gratitude. Like the other day, someone was writing on my Facebook post, I was talking about how, my brother-in-law came up to me once. I was hiding behind a tree. I was smoking at the time. And he's there like, you can hide and think you're weird all you want, but you're part of this family and we're gonna love you no matter what. And it took me by surprise and took me off my game. And since then, like, I'm really excited when I get to go home and visit these people who I thought were so different from me, and they are really different from me, but we found our common way. And this woman wrote, "But what about when your family doesn't support your" it was veganism or something.
Yeah,
I'm thinking, "Well, bring your own dinner." I'm
right.
like, are we gonna pick out the differences of where we don't get along, or are we gonna find the happiness and the gratitude that we get when we get to see, "Oh, my nephew just got on the New York City Fire Department. He's been working towards this for his whole life."
Right,
The similarities, the things that we can share in joy with instead of picking apart the things that we'll never find that crust of bread.
right. Yeah, I love that. I mean, that is so profound. And, what your brother-in-law said to you, if everybody had somebody who said that to them in their lives, this world would be different. We would not be dealing with the issues we're dealing with right now. If everybody had a positive force like that in their lives, I think everybody's lives would change significantly. To know that you're being loved for who you are versus what you do, and having gratitude for that, again, spiraling this, weaving this back into our show, how could you not have an unbelievable gratitude for the people around you when they say, "I don't care what you're doing, we love you for who you are."
Mhm.
What
It was a game-changing moment for me.
Yeah, yeah.
It really wasn't. And again, I'm grateful for the shamanic work that I was doing that took me and opened me up like a, can of sardines, able to change. So, a lot of it's not a superficial change when you have to when you really have some brokenness or some wounding around your happiness or your joy for this gratitude is that sometimes if you're not living your life grateful, then there's more scrubbing to do.
Absolutely, I love that. It's time to clean. I mean, it is time to clean. We're still in fall, and, I what all I know is that everybody around me, and everything that I'm reading, whether it's in the general news or whether it's my own community, is cleaning up their house right now, cleaning up
Mhm,
their life right now. And again, that is, if we spiral that back into our show, the weaving, as you start to clean up your life and you start to open up the doors and let the breezes come in and bring new fresh air, as you breathe that new fresh air of the life that you're now creating, what would happen if you start to look at the history of the path that brought you to this place that you're at right now? That it's time to clean up my life so that I'm taking care of myself and I'm also creating more space so that I can be in service to my community, my loved ones, my family, and the world in whatever way that that looks like. Um, there's a lot of gratitude in looking at what actually happened in your life. What would the events, what were the inspirations that got you to this place where you're making such huge changes right now?
that's great. Our next show is gonna be about being of service, and I think we've kind of gone around, but it would be really great if people would share their gratitude practices, the things that help them keep in that gratitude, and how when those strong winds are blowing against you, how you allow the winds of gratitude to blow through you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I've really, really loved, I am, like everybody, trying to spend less time on the internet, but I do go to the Shamans Cave page every day, and one of the things that I'm noticing is, people are putting up more inspirational posts from their hearts, showing more of the beauty of nature, and also actually writing about how our shows are impacting them. And I'm starting to see more posts about that. And so I know that Renee and I are both really, really grateful for those of you who are not just listening, but doing something with what we're sharing with you.
Mhm. I know it's really great when I was in London and stuff to meet people who said they listened to our show because a lot of times people are invisible. Like we don't know who's the thousands of people who are out there listening. So we really love to hear from you because your gratitude, multiplies. And so we're really grateful for you and follow us over at Shamans TV. We have the Shamans Cave and we look forward to sitting here some more.
Love you, everyone. And goodbye.